Happy holidays from the Bold Artist podcast. We are wishing you the very best holiday season this Christmas 2022. It's such a festive time of year, Charla. What's happening around your household right now?
Actually, this is the time of year when, the kids are home. We've had the Christmas tree up forever, and we're like settling into the season, like just
Yeah.
like really settling into the season. And the day before Christmas Eve used to always be my favorite day when I was a kid, but now it's the day before Christmas Eve. And in Newfoundland, where I come from, and I think this might even be a European thing. If there's anybody that has heard this before, let me know. But on the 23rd of December, which is the day this will initially air, it is called Tibbs Eve, which is the day before Christmas Eve. I should have found out what the actual research and definition of Tibbs Eve was before we started the show. But it's called Tibbs Eve, and in Newfoundland, that was a time when pretty much just everyone would go drinking. It was just an excuse, I think, to go party.
Yeah, an extra
Um,
holiday to add into the mix.
yeah, just an extra holiday. So I'm sure it comes from Ireland somewhere, which is where a lot of our history is English and Irish and Scottish. And so it wasn't something that we really celebrated as a kid, but it was a day when everybody in Newfoundland like actually did something. So we tried to bring that into our lives, even though we don't live in Newfoundland anymore. So I'm always finding an excuse to have the first party really of Christmas when everything's done, everyone's done work, kids are home from school. So we have like a little get together at our house on Christmas on Tibbs Eve. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the day before everything starts. And I love Christmas, and we have lots of traditions, and we're usually around family and friends. So this is where, you're ready and the excitement is started and the kids are excited, and everything is
Mm-hmm.
about to happen. It's full of anticipation. So
Yeah.
it's one of my favorite days of the year.
And for those watching on YouTube, we'll see that Charlotte is wearing her party shirt, so she's definitely ready for Tibbs Eve.
Ready.
This was what we wore for the Bold School party last Christmas, and we were in cahoots to wear it again this Christmas season just for you, YouTube. So here we
Yeah.
are in our party clothes, ready to party. But quite honestly, I always look forward to getting into comfy clothes at
I
Christmas.
was
So
just thinking that. I was like,
yeah.
I wish that I was in a sweatshirt instead. Although I love the
Yeah.
shirt. I love comfy clothes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm looking forward to is like some sweatpants on the couch, cozy sweater, and a blanket, hot drink. Those are some of my
Yes,
favorite parts of Christmas is the
for
downtime.
sure.
Christmas is really different around our household now that our kids are older. And actually last Christmas was our very first time experiencing like that Steve and I experienced what alone time as a couple because our kids had other plans with significant others,
Mm,
which we're so happy for them that they can, start to make their own traditions and have their own life experiences. And we tried, I was, I gave it some forethought and had decided like try to keep myself busy. So I had made other plans so that Steve and I can start to create our new like traditions as the
mhm.
kids go out and make their new traditions. But I did end up with some alone time, which was an adjustment. I would never want my kids to feel bad because I'm happy for them. So I don't want to say I was sad, but I was actually a little sad. I shed a few tears when they all left.
Oh,
I shed a few tears, and Sue's like, "What can I do?" And I'm like, "Did you buy me more presents?"
presents are always good. One
Yeah,
every
buy me
five
more
minutes.
presents. But yeah,
Yeah.
alone time. This is something new for us on the at the holiday season.
Yeah, well, that's not I'm thinking about what it's like as my kids are getting older with a graduated kid this year and another one in grade 11. I still got a few years because we still have a 12-year-old.
Mhm.
But I remember as a kid, like going to university, and I went to university on the opposite side of the country as my family, but my sister was there. And I remember my very first Christmas morning where I wasn't with my mom and dad. That was like probably it wasn't a lonely Christmas because I was with my sister and she's married a Greek, and a Greek Christmas is lots of fun and very active and energetic.
Kind of like a Greek
But
wedding.
yeah, oh yeah, she had a Greek wedding too. So, but it was my first Christmas away from my parents and like our traditions and stuff. And I just remember that lonely feeling of that Christmas. And then the other Christmas I remember that was like such a weird one was after I had a couple of kids and we were in Newfoundland, and my husband's dad was visiting for the first time. So everyone that in our family was like, well, we have some foreigners and we're going to show them what a Newfie Christmas is. And every day there was a party, every day there was drinks and huge amounts of food and traveling even from town to town. It was insane. And with little kids and just overeating
You
and
were probably
overdrinking and never
wishing for
sleeping.
alone time. You
I
were
was
wishing for
like,
alone time.
yeah,
Yeah.
wishing for a long time. I was so overwhelmed. And I'm like, what do you do? You know, Christmas, we put so much expectations around it. And then sometimes you have what you had last year, your first Christmas, where you're like, we have to readjust. Our traditions are changing. Or you get one that's unexpectedly super busy and you can't enjoy it
Mhm.
because you're exhausted and you've eaten too much. You know, so it's a real truth around Christmas, and we always try to make it perfect, but I think we need to be honest and say, what are you going to do when it doesn't go the way you want it to go? Like, what are you going to do when you are alone
Mhm.
and you're sad and lonely like you were last year?
Yeah, but don't
Or
feel bad, kids. I'm happy for you.
well, this year you'll probably have adjusted a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then you kind of get used to your quiet Christmases, and then they get so overwhelming because one day you're going to have a million grandchildren, and you'll be like,
Yep.
"Why are
I'll
you
be like,
here?"
where's the alone time? I need it. And
Yeah.
here's the thing is it really is about balancing because I'm an mostly an introvert. So those of you who watch us here on the Bold Artist podcast and you see me and hear me talking and talking, you probably think, what? You're an extrovert. And you tell this story of like how you used a microphone when you were little and practiced talking to it. And
By
that's such
yourself, though.
such an extrovert quality, you would
Yeah.
think. But actually, introvert extrovert has to do with where you recharge, how
Hmm.
you refuel. And I refuel alone, but then I
Me
take my
too.
fuel out into my public work and
Yeah.
my what seems to be charismatic personality, but I don't recharge out there. I pour it all out when I'm doing this, but I will need alone time to recharge.
Hmm.
And so
Me
I think
too.
what happens at Christmas is that I still need alone time when you describe the overwhelm, like overwhelms of big dinners and parties and socializing. It's all
Hmm.
such a part of it that we look forward to, but for the introvert, we need like give me some alone time, and you almost want to hide in your closet so that you can just recuperate.
Yeah.
And
Recharge, like lie on
yeah,
your bed and watch
yeah,
a TV show. Like you just need to be alone for half a minute.
yeah. And then in the same breath that I say that, if you're actually alone without the connection, that can be difficult and
Hmm.
challenging, and so you need both. And so I'm curious, Charla, this topic was on your heart. You talked pre-show just you know about like, hey Mary Janelle, how did it feel to adjust to some alone time, and what are people going through out there who are either overwhelmed and need alone time or feeling alone. But what is the connection for you um between like our alone time and the artists who are listening? Like where's that connection, that how we can encourage artists, the artists that are listening who might be alone?
Yeah, I think I'd like to kind of talk about ways that we can use alone time for good, because I think that it can be good. I think one of the biggest things to recognize is that as soon as you're alone, introvert or extrovert, if you don't have a device, especially, or if you're just sick of your device and suddenly you're just sitting there and you're alone, we get a little bit too introspective, and we start giving ourselves a lot of negative self-talk. I think that's pretty much what everybody does. It's kind of, I think guys and girls of all ages, if you haven't recognized it in yourself, you can do a lot of negative self-talk. And in that you start thinking, well, I'm not good enough. I'm alone, so I'm definitely not good enough. And you start you start thinking along those lines too much, and it makes it scary to be alone, because why would you want to be alone with someone like you? If you're talking to yourself like that, and a lot of people do, because they don't recognize that voice and don't really know how to get it to stop. So I think one of the first things to do if you are alone, especially if you can't do anything about it, or if you're overwhelmed and you need alone time but you're scared of it, I think one of the first things to do is to recognize that negative voice that's in you and figure out ways to quiet it. Like you need to recognize that you are good enough and you're so good that you can actually be alone with yourself and enjoy
Yeah.
it. Like you can start to trust yourself and start
Mm.
to ask yourself for advice and start trusting your answers. You don't need to go to others to get advice for the things that you should do, and start talking positively and trusting yourself. And then you can start thinking about how alone time can actually be powerful and fulfilling and can actually fill your soul up and get rid of what a lot of us battle with, different kinds of depression. But I think a lot of us battle with, when we're alone, you feel depressed and you feel sad because of a lot of the different thoughts that go through your head. But as soon as you allow yourself to have that time or to recognize how to fill your bucket up or fill your soul up when you're alone, you can actually become, stronger and wiser and fill yourself up so you have more to give when you go out with other people.
Mhm.
And there's ways to do it. And as an artist, I believe that those ways can make us more creative and can give us the opportunity to make the art that we dream of with purpose, and you have something incredible to show the world when we come out of that time, so we can use that alone time for good, not
Mhm.
be afraid of it.
Absolutely. So just understanding you are good enough. You're good enough alone. You're good
Yeah.
enough on your own. You are enough. Trusting yourself. I love that you made the connection between alone time and trusting yourself for answers.
Hmm.
And
So you
uh
can talk to yourself and not in the crazy way, but you can
yeah,
talk to yourself about ideas. And instead of me calling you up on Christmas Eve and saying, what should I serve my guests for dinner? How about I just make that decision?
yeah,
Trust yourself and make decisions. You are wise. You've been on the earth, a little bit. So for a
mhm,
minute here, you've been on the earth. So you can make good choices. You don't need others all the time to make those
yeah.
choices.
Yeah, for sure. So, you also said one of the things that you love about alone time is people watching?
Yeah. I think, and when you're alone. But
Yeah,
sometimes, like for instance, if it's Christmas time and you're not with your family, or maybe you don't have family that you want to be with, and you're alone a lot over Christmas, you can go out, like just go downtown, sit at the ice rink, or go to a restaurant, have lunch by yourself, go to a movie by yourself,
mhm,
which I actually find really hard no matter how healthy of a state I'm in.
yeah.
I find it hard to do those things alone, but I do love people watching.
So
And
this is oh, sorry, say more about people watching before I interject.
yeah, but when do you realize, you're good enough by yourself? You're actually, I don't look at people alone and judge them. I mean, I'm sure some people might, but we don't necessarily go out and look at people alone and then start judging them. You
Right.
are good enough alone. So go out there alone and sit down and start watching people and learning what they're doing, like just watching their interactions, think about them, study them, and not to judge, but to actually gain knowledge about humankind and
Absolutely.
relationships. And this will also go into your art because you're studying and you're learning.
Mhm. Well, I love it that we're talking about this because I don't know if I've admitted in public yet that I am totally a people watcher.
I love people watching.
And I think I need to dive into that topic a little bit more, just like finding out what's in me and why I love this so much. But that's what I love to do, like why I love to travel alone. Because if I have a long
Hmm.
layover in an airport, particularly like one that's not in the middle of the night, but one where I'm alert, I'm not disappointed because I find a spot to sit at my gate and I people watch. And
Yeah.
I will watch people getting off their flight and like, oh, I like her shoes. And oh, interesting. And oh, people really do wear their pajamas to the airport. And I just people watch. And it's not judging, it's just like the curiosity
Yeah.
is very satisfied by people watching. But this reminds me, this past autumn in our Bold School community, we went through the book The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. And in the book, she talks about having an artist date. And what she
Hmm.
means is to actually go on a date with yourself as an artist,
And be
be
alone.
alone as an artist
Yeah.
on a date. And we had Bold School community members were posting pictures of their artist dates. It was so fun to see what they chose to do. Go to galleries, go to coffee shops, go to other art studios. It was really fun to see the artist dates, but it's a perfect example of how an artist can get comfortable with like using alone time to benefit themselves as an artist.
Yeah, and you think differently and you intake things differently when you're alone. Once you get over the discomfort or the awkwardness that you feel, because I feel that I love being alone, but alone in public is a whole different story. So, but when you're
I
with somebody,
usually say party time, I'm alone, but that lasts for 2 hours. Then I'm ready for everyone to come back.
yeah, you're ready for more people.
I've refueled.
But I just find that the conversations are different when you're with people, right? So when you're with people, say you're people watching, but you're with somebody else, so you're having a conversation with the people you see. You start interacting, you start hearing what your friend is saying. Sometimes can become more judgmental, a little bit more gossipy because you start making fun of people that you're seeing and whatnot. But when you're alone, you intake it differently and your thoughts are quicker and you're making judgments and you're making, like, I make up stories in my mind about, oh, where are they coming from and what are those people doing and how long have they been in the airport for?
Entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah, so you think differently when you're alone. It's not really that one is better than the other. It's that we don't really do that. We don't intentionally spend time alone.
Mhm.
So intentionally spending time alone is what you need when you're overwhelmed. If you are alone, then you just got to believe that this is good. You can use
And
it
you
for
can
good.
use it. Now, one of the things that I love to do when I'm alone, and it's almost the only time I can do this, is to learn.
Yes.
And last week we talked all about the joy of hobby, the word that you don't like, Charla, but we talked all about the joy of hobby and how it's just like this something we do in our leisure to give us a break from what is our hustle. But
Mm-hmm.
the aspect that we didn't talk about last week in that conversation was the whole learning aspect, because
Mm-hmm.
actually whether something is hobby or hustle, you end up learning, and I get great joy from learning in both scenarios, like the work
Mm-hmm.
style learning where I have to get better at the skill because it like my livelihood depends on it,
Yeah.
but also the joy of learning something new in a hobby fills my soul up.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting that I've noted about myself is that I learn best when I'm alone.
Yes,
I'm
me
because
too.
I'm not self-aware, or I'm not aware of the other person or other people's presence, because I tend to like, cater to everyone else, and I'm
And
just
have
a
the conversations
yeah.
really. Yeah.
But when I'm alone and I can sink in, I just like love to learn. So a lot of times when the household is empty for the afternoon, I'll just be like, what YouTube channel am I going to turn on and learn something new? Or
Yeah, me
what
too.
online course can I learn? Which is why I think that a lot of our Bold School students are even thriving in their painting practice, but they're not doing it necessarily with everyone around them. We see everyone alone. They're
Mhm.
learning, they're taking our courses in their alone time, which is amazing that they would spend their alone
Yeah.
time with us.
I know. I actually do think that's pretty amazing. But
Mhm.
I think I have the same story when I'm alone and I can really dig into something and you're not you don't need to be aware of anybody or anything around you. You're not distracted with conversations. You can just really dig into that. You can take
Mm.
notes, you can read the book that's going along with the study or whatever it is that you're doing and I can learn. And I find there's some days like during the week if I've had a couple of really busy weeks and I can't stay on task, just because I'm tired, I'm mentally tired, I'm drained. Like it
Mhm.
actually
Mhm.
just drains working hard and working long days and spending time with family and friends and being out there. And at Christmas time, this is like one of the prime times this to happen. All of your stuff gets drained out of you and
Yeah.
you've got nothing left to give. So one of my favorite things to do is to sit alone in my studio and set something out, either a course that I've purchased and I've been waiting for the right time, or a YouTube series or a podcast series, and take it in. And then what
Yeah.
it does is it fills you back up with
Mhm.
all the good stuff. And I mean, learning is good because you're learning things that you can pour out into your business or into your art. But I just find there's something about it that rejuvenates you, and it feeds you like sunshine and fertilizer. It fills you
Absolutely.
up, and you go back out to the Christmas party the next day, and now you've got some energy that you can drain out of you again.
Yeah.
You know,
So during your
yeah.
alone time this Christmas, or the alone time that you want to have this Christmas, you can just log into boldschool.com and take one of our new classes and also keep in mind we have all kinds of exciting new classes launching in the new year 2023. So
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned for
So
that. Make
much.
sure that you're on our newsletter list through boldschool.com to get all the updates of what's coming out in the new year. In closing, do you have any last remarks, Charla?
Well, I think when you do all those things and you spend, then you've got yourself together, you're comfortable, you're in your own skin, and you're spending time learning and filling up your buckets and your souls.
Mm,
You can start making plans for your future, and you can start having something to aim at, to take aim at, and really go after it.
mhm,
When you learn and you've filled yourself up with thoughts and ideas, and you're trusting yourself, and you get plans, and you have goals in the future, and then you can start, which gives you purpose, is what I'm trying to say. These
mhm,
types of things start giving you purpose, and when you have purpose, you can now go and create amazing things. So if you're an artist and you want to make art, and you don't really even know how to make art, you don't know what to make art about, a lot of the things that we've just talked about are ways that fill you up and give you ideas and give you purpose. And now you're motivated and you're energized to go out and create. And if you still have alone time left over Christmas or the new year, then go and spend those endless hours making amazing things.
yeah,
What better opportunity than
yeah,
a whole day or a week where you can just hunker down and create
yeah.
like
What can you
amazing.
learn? What can you create? And just remember, you are not alone. We love to say that here on the Bold Artist Podcast, that we're with you and we're here to support you and give artists voices. And
Mhm.
we so appreciate you being here on our journey through 2022 and even before and during our first season. You have all been such amazing, loyal followers. This podcast and Bold School has gone beyond our wildest dreams. So thank you so much. And may your holiday season be bright. May you have peace and know that we here at Bold School love you.
Mhm.
And until next time, keep creating.
And Merry Christmas.